It's Polar Bee again, part 2. I decided to go ahead and just delete the other videos, and I'll continue with where I'm talking about. So anyway, what I was talking about was your own journey, and how that everybody's journey is unique to them. So you can't compare yourself to somebody else. If you find that other people in sharing some of your history, or you're listening to me talk about my history and abuse and healing, like I said, there's no one right or wrong way to heal. It's whatever works for you, and what works for somebody else is not going to work for me. What worked for me might not work for you. I always like the saying, take what you like and leave the rest. And if something that I say or something that somebody else says helps me or helps you, then that's good. We can learn from one another and help one another, support one another, be supportive. One of the things I want to say too is I am not a therapist or anything like that. I'm just a person who is sharing my journey, who is sharing my experiences with abuse and my healing, but I am in no way a therapist or anything like that. For the most part, I didn't even like therapy. I had to go a lot of times when I was a kid, because I was in foster homes and stuff, and it was mandatory therapy that I had to go to, and God, I hated that. I hated it. Had to go. That's a whole nother story, but I've done a lot of my healing journey on my own for the most part. There was a therapist that I did go to for a while, and I'll get into. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me get back on track to where I was talking about before. One of the things that I did, though, when I got the book is, I really identified with the book, and I knew that that was me that they were talking about. And that was actually how I started my healing journey. I did that for a long time. Got books, soaked them up, Reach for the Rainbow, Courage to Heal, Allies in Healing. And by then, I did share a little bit with Lovey that I was going through some stuff, and that my father had sexually abused me, and I didn't really get into the ritual abuse. Like I said, those memories came later. But one of the things that I did, besides the books and everything, I started journaling. I started writing in a book, journaling. I believe that I remember the first words that I wrote in my journal. And I have like 12 journals over the years. I haven't written consistently in all of them, but in the beginning I was writing like sometimes 2 and 3 times a day. And I remember writing, I am 28 years old and I am an incest survivor. That's how I started my first journal. And then I've written stuff. And it's kind of nice to go back and read a lot of that stuff that I wrote. Now I'm actually writing a book about my story. And about my experiences in hopes that it will help somebody else to heal. So I've been writing that probably for the last 3 or 4 years. I got into the middle of that and discovered that I wasn't done healing. I had a lot more stuff to do with the ritual abuse. So probably a couple years ago, I did go back to therapy. I found a therapist and did some more work on my ritual abuse healing, and the DID. And I'll get into that later too. But anyway, one of the things that helped me a lot and that really worked for me is because I didn't really want to go to therapy and because I didn't really trust a therapist, I read in the back of the Courage to Heal about survivor groups, survivor support groups. And I actually looked up in our newspaper, local newspaper, to find out if there were any, sexual abuse support groups in my area. And lo and behold, there were. So I actually made the decision to try and see what these support groups were all about. That was probably one of the best decisions that I ever made. I was actually terrified terrified to call and find out about it, because it's kind of funny, because I called the number, I found a number, and it was actually like 2 cities over from where I lived. So there were actually several. There were some that were focused on adult rape, and stuff like that, from the YMCA and or YWCA. That there were, and I didn't really feel that was the right ones for me, simply because I hadn't remembered the rape. I knew that I was a survivor of childhood sexual abuse, but I found one that was specifically for incest and childhood sexual abuse, and I called the number, and my voice was shaking. It was so scary just to even say, I am a survivor, and I want to get some information about the groups that you're having. It was kind of interesting. The very first time that I went to one of the groups, I was just blown away. I was totally blown away, because when I walked in, I don't know what I expected to see, but I didn't expect to see a room full of women who just looked like average, women, they were all hurting inside just like me. I don't know what I expected. I don't know if I expected them, people to have 2 heads and, a third eye up here or what. I'm not sure what I expected, but that was the thing that struck me the most, was how normal everybody looked, and that if you were to see them in a grocery store or something like that, I mean, you wouldn't know that they were a survivor of sexual abuse. I guess I didn't really feel that way myself. I thought everybody could tell, that there was something horribly, drastically wrong with me, and that wasn't the case at all. So that was like a realization, an eye-opening experience. So that was good. I think I'm probably going to run out of time again. Good Lord, this goes fast. So let's continue. Okay, part 3. All right, later.